Good morning. It's Sunday, September. Holy crap. Where am I? April 27th, 2025. Welcome to my YouTube channel. I'm here every Sunday usually, but with the Neptune and Saturn conjunction hovering over my south node, things are interesting, and we're going to talk about that a little bit. But I'm going to give the room a chance to warm up a little bit. Good morning, Natty. It's good to see you. Welcome into the room. I have a lot to talk about today, honestly, and I today is a full moon. You sold your house. Congratulations. I hope this is a good thing. Housing is something to talk about. Saturn and Neptune coming together. I'm going to pull up the chart so I can see it on my phone. Whenever I'm getting ready and whenever I am in water, good morning, Queen Leo, my mind feels like I'm channeling all this energy, and I wish I could record videos in the shower. I know that sounds a little funky, but then I get out of the shower and the air in me starts to dissipate what I was getting, because I want to offer this. Today at 12:31 p.m., which is we could very likely be together talking while the new moon in Taurus shows up at 7 degrees. And this is, did I say 12:31 p.m.? Good. I want to say this too. Pluto is stationing to go retrograde at 3 degrees of Aquarius. So the cardinal signs and the fixed signs are still going to feel the late degree cardinal signs, and the early degree fixed signs are going to feel Pluto's pull. This is very important because somewhere in your soul's contract, you have offered up a moment for yourself to experience your intention, your co-creation, and your power. Okay? I hope you can all see me. This is not an easy time for any of us because our muggle minds are getting triggered by Saturn's conjunction to Venus, conjunction to Neptune. We've got the North Node floating in there. So now we're looking at this access of suffering. And I say that because Virgo and Pisces is that 12th, 6th house access. And this is a time when Saturn is literally holding our feet to the ground in cement to see if we have done the last 2 years' work, which is to have created a strong foundation with our soul's voice within to transcend where we have been and whatever Virgonian, human, muggle, like tight lane, shirt that's too tight, stuck somewhere because of whatever our enslavement is. This is up for renewal. And I personally am going through huge, huge challenges. I'm not going to get, I don't know if I'm going to get May's monthlies out, you guys. I literally might have to surrender because I'm under siege. I don't know if you can tell, but my window and my whole wall and this whole thing over here has been pummeled. Neptune is water. Saturn is construction. Venus is money. Okay. The landlord hired some schlep to fix the chronic leak. The guy ripped out the wall, put it back together, and it's like basically stuccoed the inside of the apartment. Okay. And I asked them to return my home to the condition which they found it, and he refused. Saturn, authority, restriction. Neptune, rain. It rained yesterday. The leak is still there. The leak, after pulling the freaking wall out and like destroying this whole part of my apartment, I'm going to show you. Look at this dumbass thing that's sticking out into the middle of my freaking house that I can't move back because I'm not. I'm not able to move it. It's too heavy for me. Anyway, this is my point. All of this activity is going to hit you somewhere. It could potentially be trining you, but if it's squaring you, if it is opposing you, it is offering you a landscape, an experience to literally take Saturn's journey through Pisces and talk to your guides and your angels and say, excuse me, hello, hello. So what did they do? Then either destroy my place? Well, this is the funny thing. The landlord, the property management company, is not holding the guy who did the work responsible. He's just telling me this. You're keeping it as it is. And I put my feet in the cement. I have a Taurus moon in the first house. And this new moon is on literally conjunct my moon. And my moon opposes my Mercury in Scorpio and my Juno and my Neptune. And because I'm a late degree Aries rising, this is in my first and seventh house. So literally there's been I'm going to call it, there have been battles. And I believe these are battles between dark and light, between what I call fairness and balance and greed and corruption. And you know what Neptune rules? Frickin' deception, secrets, lies. The polarity of the Pisces energy is really quite magnificent, okay? Because it's absolutely beautiful. And at the same time, it could be completely erosive if you buy into the muggle mind, that opposing Virgo energy. So as the South Node is going through Virgo, wherever that is in your chart, we're being tasked to walk through a process of discerning and analyzing the structures that have been given to us, are the way our mind works. And if indeed what we are doing in the way of work, in the way of bodily habits, our habits to ourselves, our mind's habits, are we aligned to a bigger picture? Now, I told you earlier that my South Node is in Aries in the 12th house at 3 degrees. That makes my North Node in the 6th house of Libra at 3 degrees conjunct the supergalactic center. So one of the things I'm walking through is to really trust that I am a co-creator with spirit. So as this disruption takes place, it is really not about tripping me up, about testing me. It's about me being aware of my power and how will I use it? Will I default to the muggle mind, or will I rise above and know that my soul and my soul's understanding of the process of co-creation? Because this thing literally started a year and a half ago, almost. But the evidence that's happening now is so much more powerful. And you know what I realized yesterday when my mind is all I can do is think about this? I'm literally paralyzed. I mean, I'm not, but I cannot authentically, like when I'm shooting videos, I'm antsy. Okay. I'm like a warrior that's being held back from punching the bad guy. But I know why I'm being held back, because the punch isn't going to be powerful. The punch would be reactionary Mars. So I'm being tasked, as you all are, by Saturn to slow it down, to be aware of what I'm building in my Neptune energy, my connection to spirit. Now, let's also remember this. Pisces is co-ruled by Jupiter. Jupiter is transiting Gemini. Jupiter is in fall, well, in detriment, actually, in Gemini. So we really are being asked to look at how do our thoughts, how we buy into our divine disruptions. This guy's an asshole. This guy's, won't pay me. Whatever the story is that's getting in your way, this is an opportunity. Stephen, it rained here yesterday, okay? And it rained for only about an hour. And it rained exactly the way that I tell every single window guy. When it rains to the west, from east to west, the window floods up. And it flooded up almost immediately. So whatever the guy did, it was completely ineffectual. So I'm just giving this guy, this other person who hired this person, I just keep remembering that spirit has, this disruption is even making my case stronger than it was before. And while, I think my YouTube channel is suffering because I have to go into priority, right? Where does the money come from? Where do I put my energy? And God bless, I love you all, but YouTube doesn't make me diddly squat. This has been like a labor of love, especially if you're small, because she doesn't even get $1 from it. But, the thing is at this moment in time, I'm having to prioritize things. Thank you. Just call me C. Well, I'm telling you, this is gearing up for something I think is much bigger because, again, we're in a co-creation. So what is this guy, this greedy bastard who thinks he has the right to demo my house and then leave it that way because he doesn't want to pay to fix what the guy he hired to do fucked up? Pardon my language. No one puts baby in a corner. But this is the thing. When baby gets up to dance, she's going to fly. Okay, remember? All right. So look, this is the thing. Today at 12:31, this Taurus moon is actually at 7 degrees, which I think is interesting because it's a Libra degree, but it is also the degree of diplomacy. It's the degree of attorneys, of court cases, of everything in the Libra energy has to do with cops, fairness, civil things. I thank you, Stephen. And I want you, if you guys would pray for my peace of mind, that would be very helpful because I'm peaceful on some level, but I'm still I have Chiron sitting on my ascendant now. Thank you very much. The stars never stop giving. Okay. So once you get over your Pluto transit, then Chiron stops. So the East Coast has already passed it. Past what? I think the universe is helping me out with the rain too. 11:11. No, the East Coast will have their new moon at 3:31, not at 12:31. We have at 12:31 Pacific time. We still have an hour or so, whatever the time may be. Okay, so I appreciate all of you having my back so much. Energetically, it's like you're all sending beams up to the universe, because this is the other thing I wanted to go talk about when I was talking about my North Node. With my North Node being at 3 degrees on the supergalactic center, I am a co-creator, and my awareness of that co-creation is something I'm going to learn. Okay. So I want you guys to look at what's going on your Pisces Virgo axis and what is going on your Pluto Aquarius axis, because the Pluto, as it starts to go retrograde, is going to bring something back up that needs or gets to be looked at. It could be a psychological thing. It could be someone having power and control over you. It could be somebody who's literally being criminal to you, or you being criminal to somebody else, although I doubt in this group that anybody is actually being criminal. So, because this is so important, because as we line up with this and we become more aware of our intention, so our worry doesn't serve us. So South Node in Virgo, letting go of the worry, being aware that the worry is a prayer that doesn't serve you, and rephrasing the worry into a declaration. And I am experiencing ease in this situation. I am experiencing my power in this situation. I am experiencing my understanding during this disruption that has me feeling my muggle mind going, off, because this is all super happening and we're not getting out of it. None of us are. We're all cruising through this, whether we like it or not. And we are going to experience, Neptune moving into Aries, okay, I just want to back up a little bit, because as I was getting ready today, I was thinking to myself that it's literally on the world axis, the most powerful degree of co-creation and conception of the self, but through a spiritual dynamic, through an awareness that the soul is never ending, that the soul comes into this earthly experience to feel Saturn's density and fear and limitation, and then to know that through my mind, I'm a co-creator. And while I focus my thoughts, and spirit brings the people, the dynamics, the situations. And when I put super emotional, good, yummy emotions onto those thoughts, then things start coming much quicker. And then it's my job to believe that I co-created that and to continue to walk through it as if it is sustainable. Saturn, sustainable. Happy birthday, Les. Happy birthday. That means that Saturn, this means that if yesterday was your solar return, then you have Neptune on your sun right now. You have, Saturn hanging out there. You have Venus hanging out there. You're absolutely feeling this conjunction as we go from, this is the other thing. Okay. So that 12th house of Pisces naturally is like the translucent, right? You can't really see. It's very blurry and unclear. And then you go into this powerful hero's journey. Okay. The hero that is Mars is coming into the physical. And now as humans or souls experiencing a human dynamic, we are being offered an opportunity to have that awareness and move that into our daily actions, into how we show up in our Aries energy. And Pluto is going to support that because it is sextiling the Aries energy. So it's a big ass time. I don't mind saying it. Okay. I think that's all I really want to talk about today. Anybody got any questions? Because I got to tell you, I think that this, as we experience the retrograde of Pluto, and then I think in about a month or so, we'll get Neptune and Saturn retrograding simultaneously together all over your sun. It's going to be an opportunity to really look at where we are brave, to trust that we are building a strong connection with the laws of attraction, the laws of ebb and flow, the laws of compensation. And when we start to connect to that, we actually become the galactic lighthouses for the future. And that is what Pluto is offering us. I know that's super meaty to chew on, but I'm really thinking about rewriting rather than intuitive astrology, I really think I'm going to do psychological astrology. My Pluto trine my moon with Venus there kicks ass on my intuitiveness, and we're going to transform this world by being in a space that walks through the disruption and yet thrives on the backside of it. So there we go. All right, let's go with our birthday month. Whose birthday is it again? It's Taurus. I'm pretty sure it's Taurus. Well, that's good, Stephen, because a sense of calm will be that you are surrendering to what you know is deeper truth to your path and what you're walking through and the choices that you're making right now. Because one of those choices that is with Venus there and Saturn and Neptune all hovering over the last degrees, which can be beautiful degrees and very hard degrees, because they're the degrees that we are being offered to master what we've walked through. So for 14 years, maybe 15 years, Neptune's been going through its own rulership. And in doing so, it's been tasking the human experience to transcend. And then we're looking at Saturn coming in and saying, put this in the earthly realm. Combine these two things, bring them together. And in doing so, you become a powerful knight of the round table, a powerful light and a beacon for those that would want to experience that power. So a lot of that's for Stephen's going to be about how you're processing your childhood, how it affected you, how it shaped your sense of self and your bravery about sticking your neck out and sharing your opinions. Did you have pizza at Round Table? Oh my goodness. Well, see, there you go. Next time you go to Round Table, think of yourself as a knight. All right. Hey, little grasshopper, welcome to the room. All right, let's start with our Tauruses. Happy birthday, my Tauruses. Happy new moon. You know, I didn't look at the aspects of this new moon. And unfortunately, because when I made my notes months ago, I mean, look at my face. I'm exhausted. I mean, I am so truly tired to my bones. And yet I'm a live wire of bzzz. I have shark energy. All right, let's see what Spirit has to say for this week for Taurus. Unless I hope I didn't put any kind of, uneasy energy into the transit that's going over your sun, because it's a beautiful transit when you're aware enough to be willing to be uncomfortable, Saturn, to endure the unknowing in the muggle mind and trusting that Spirit has your back, even if something seems insurmountable. That's kind of the thing about Saturn. It can give this feeling of insurmountability. I can't fight City Hall, right? That's what frickin' Saturn would rule. Actually, Libra probably rules City Hall, but you know what I mean. You get the point. Okay. Oh, that's so nice. What kind of plants are you planting? You flowers? Okay, here we go. The only thing I've been planting lately is, the seeds of intention to feel the balance and the harmony in my home again. Because, when I'm as a first house Taurus moon, my home environment could not be more pivotal to my well-being. And where others can live in chaos, I cannot. This freaking hutch sitting in the middle of my living room essentially drives me crazy. To see the two color, this Yahoo, okay, let me just go off for a minute. Please bear with me. I really need someone to talk to. And thank you, Small Wildflowers, for listening to me. You're a very wonderful, wonderful friend. This Yahoo, okay, the window is here. This is all he needed to work on, okay? He texturized the wall over here. He went up and painted the ceiling and the walls, and they don't match. And they had nothing whatsoever to do with this wall And this MFer, the landlord, wants me to live with it. I have Taurus moon in the first house. My freaking bull hooves are in the ground, and I have taken action. And this time, my South Node would say I'd been imprisoned for taking action or in my own hands. Third degree South Node in Aries would absolutely be taking warring against the Gemini energy, but I'm not this time. I'm using due process. I'm using the Libran energy of trusting that the structures that have been put into place will illuminate in a much more efficient and satisfactory way. And that's not easy to live through when you're in Aries and you want everything to happen right now. Oh, God, thanks for putting up with me, guys. There's a lot going on. And this is why if I disappear, you know why. Because I'm just so stressed out. And I have to, again, give my energy to the one-on-ones and the clients that, are keeping the rent paid, because this guy is just chomping, salivating to get rid of me. And I'm getting rid of him instead. It's going to turn out the other way. I'm a Disney movie. I'm the bad news bears, but I'm going to win the league. All right, Taurus, it's all about you guys now. Let's see what's happening. What will you create? If your birthday is within a couple days, Les, this would be good for you too. Set some strong intentions this week about what you want that brings you harmony, peace, and balance. 7 degrees, Libra degree. All right. In the foundational position, we have the World, which is Saturn. We have the Hermit. We have the Knight of Pentacles and the 10 of Wands. All right, this is a little bit of a challenge. We have a Saturnian feel to the World here, but in the deck I'm using, there's sort of this feeling of having to just relax into it. This is the reward side of Saturn, and yet at the same time, the Taurus energy, doesn't like the unpredictable. It doesn't like things that come out of nowhere. And I think that there's two things going on here. When I look at this surrender to world events that are going on around you or dynamics, for instance, if you have a 401k and you're afraid because the economy is going like this right now, just kind of try to relax and trust the world dynamic, because there's also the Hermit here. And we see kind of a common theme here. The Hermit is in meditation. There's a surrendering here to the structure, and Spirit is saying, we've got your back and we know where you want to go. Okay, this is a Knight of Pentacles. This is Virgonian as well. But the challenge here for my Tauruses who want, Taurus is interesting because to me, of the three earth signs, Capricorn is very well defined and Virgo is very well defined, and Taurus is a combination of the two. That's just how I see it, because, I look at everything from a Teri lens. And here, it may be hard for you to relax. There's the burden of having to go, and slowly, methodically, and connecting with Spirit. Now, we're talking about Pluto squaring the fixed signs, and it's going to square the late degree cardinals when it gets back to 0 degrees of Aquarius. It's not going to go back into Capricorn, but again, if you're anywhere from 26, even 25 degrees of a cardinal sign, you're going to feel it. My Mars is going to get squared again by Pluto. And, that's going to be an interesting dynamic, because, this whole time I'm being groomed to be the hero that Mars is, rather than the banshee. So you're going to be tasked to elevate and be aware of the higher vibration of however this is hitting you. So Taurus is a fixed energy. There could be a little bit of a feeling of arduousness this week, and yet through that arduous journey, there will be an illumination of what direction you want to go, and that you are being on some level led. And if you're a late degree Taurus, or you have any, whatever planets you might have in Taurus, if something unexpected has been, things have been cropping up, because we've still got Uranus transiting through there. It's again, start to frame things as a divine disruption. See if you can look at, like, where's the wisdom, where's the opportunity underneath it. Okay, let's go on to our Geminis. All right. Now we see Jupiter is moving through your first house. And, it's an interesting dynamic, because it's really kind of this polarity between the expansion of Jupiter and the kind of quick, short bits of I don't think of Mercury as being extremely deep. Mercury's like, just give me the cliff notes and let me move on, right? Let me get the taglines of, the news at 3, blah, 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 that Mercury, kind of thing. I know Mercury rules journalism, etc. But there's just this kind of feeling when your first house is Gemini and Jupiter is transiting through, I feel like there's like a seesaw and an opportunity for awareness in how are you implementing the expansion of your desires. Let's take the religious aspect out of it, or the spiritual beliefs. Jupiter co-rules Pisces. Okay. This is where I'm going. This is what happens to me when I'm in water. And I'm thinking to myself, and we've got all that stellium going on in Pisces. And now Jupiter has been going through the sign of how I think, how I speak, how I rule my everyday activities. Is my conversation actually aligned to the expansion I want? Whether it be, I want a good relationship, I want more money, whatever the desire it is. So I think right now, if we start to think of Jupiter, not just from a Sagittarian place, and also this is the other thing, in the fact that Jupiter rules travel, okay? In Pisces, it's going to rule the travel spiritually of your soul, traversing the human element from a higher perspective, for lack of a better term. Really, there's so much. I literally think the soul is being birthed into the physical right now. And it reminds me of sort of this, like trying to crack this egg open. And there's these little points that we start to feel a freedom, but there's still this restriction. And we just have to keep knocking on the shell to crack it open. All right, Gemini, let's see where we're going. Because as Jupiter moves into your second house of Cancer, holy moly, a lot of great stuff could come because you have coagulated, you figured it out. This is the other thing. I really want to say this. The figuring it out is never the releasing of anything, okay? Each one of you were imprinted with experiences that aren't going to go away because of some magical wand or some rock you threw into the water. What you're going to do is transform them into the hero's tool to cut through the bullshit. And you'll start to trust that inner voice that says, I don't think that's right, but I don't need to tell you what I know. Mercury. Because Jupiter rules money. And when it moves into the second house of home for you, the second house of your intuition, of your quote unquote healing, balance, nourishing, nurturing, the mother experience, on top of the value, your self-worth, your skills, everything you're kind of coagulating through Jupiter's transit in your first house could be birthed on some level in your second house. And it could be just a side hustle or something you do, a labor of love. It doesn't have to be like a whole job situation. I know that's my biggest struggle right now. You should see the fantasies I have of the type of text I could write. My whole detective Scorpio, freaking Mercury and Scorpio wants to just pop off. And it's taking everything in my power to be smart and strategic instead of, you done me wrong, asshole, fix it. I didn't do this. That's what I would have done. Just a few years ago, I would have been screaming that, but it ain't going to work. So I got to be smarter. I have to be more cunning. And I have to be more strategic. And I say have to because I'm struggling through it right now. And while it's a big get to, and I know I'm rooting that part of myself in for a big frequency shift in my soul's dynamic, it's nowhere near easy right now. Okay? So don't expect ease. That would be setting yourself up for disappointment. All right, here we go. I'm cutting the deck. Gemini, I'm finally going to do your reading. There's the 9 of Cups, wish fulfillment, but it's upside down. The 10 of Swords is drama. It's upside down. The 8 of Wands is upside down. And then we have the 7 of Pentacles. Well, this is interesting. You know what? The first thing about the 9 of Cups is wish fulfillment. Okay. It is, what do I want? And if you look at this mermaid, she's like just touching her hair. You can't really see because I showed you upside down, but there's a lot of ease in how she's kind of feeling very relaxed, right? This would be Gemini in a lack of relaxed about what they want. Hey, Queen, if you get $1 billion, can I borrow a buck or two? I love you. The 10 of Swords, okay? This is not an easy energy either, Gemini. But I will say that this is upside down. So it's good because it's not as bad as it's this way. But you're waiting for some kind of information or some sort of conclusion of something or somebody, because the 8 of Wands is a conclusion, an ending, but it's not here yet. It's not here yet because it too is upside down. And then finally, we have the 7 of Pentacles, which means that for Gemini, your wish is being nurtured somehow through spirit. And while you see a certain dynamic of how you want it to play out, there's a very good possibility that it's going to play out better than you think because you can't think of the solution. The solution is a part or a dynamic that hasn't taken place or a resource that you're not aware will come into your experience. And on some level, Spirit is kind of saying for Gemini, try your best, I guess. Try would be the best because of all these upside down cards, to focus in on how it feels in the solution of and the ease. Like right now in my home, some people could walk in here and not even notice the problems. The baseboards aren't, on, the screens aren't on. People will be like, oh, I didn't even notice. But to me, it's very disruptive. So rather than hating on the people that did this, I keep trying to say to Spirit, thank you for bringing harmony to my home. Because somewhere this is a little challenging. You're still guarding yourself. It's not cray cray, but trust that what you're building is working towards what you want. And if there's a little disruption for some reason, it's because the elements are not as rich or as where they could be for the biggest expansion. Again, when Jupiter moves into Cancer in June, I believe it is, that's not far off, this is going into its exaltation. And Pluto's going to break up something. Okay, Pluto in retrograde is going to bring, if there's any more stuff that's sitting around that's keeping your future from fulfilling itself. And I want to just, as I go on to my Cancers, I want to point out that Saturn co-rules Aquarius. So on some level, I said this the other night, I went on a live for a few minutes. Saturn and Neptune, and now Venus, she's part of this, but Saturn and Neptune are definitely traveling together. And Saturn has a rebellious nature. Saturn co-rules Aquarius, so it co-rules rebellion, liberation, visions of the future. It rules everything that we think of as Aquarian. So now we apply that Aquarian dynamic to Saturn while it's conjunct very spiritual and very soul-based Neptune. Because Neptune is not eroding the soul, it's eroding the ego of the human experience. And when we look at the ego, because we're walking into the self now, we're going from edging God out to exciting God opportunities. So anything that's being moved out is blocking the exciting opportunity. All right, Cancer, rising moon, sun, and stelliums. Going to have Mars out of your house. I think Mars is out already. Did Mars leave? That means that Mars is as opposition to Pluto. Let me look real quick at my little program here. Oh boy. Where's Mars right now? Okay, so Mars is at 4 degrees of Leo, making an exact opposition to Pluto. Wow, Katerina, I'm glad you made it through the downsizing rounds. That's exciting. I'm sure you provide value. Okay, so we're looking right now as we speak. There's the Leo rising in the current chart, and Mars is at 4 degrees of Leo, making that opposition to 3 degrees of Aquarius, Pluto, 3 degrees of Aquarius. So there's something about, how will you take action? How will you be brave for your own desires, for your own personal expression, for your fun, for your, the 5th house is for me a house that is assaulted when we get into the 6th house, because we throw everything, all our frivolous fun talents away, and we go to work jobs that make money and are of service to other people. So this is breaking that up. And Pluto's retrograde is definitely, Pluto's stationed in the sky right now at 3 degrees. What are you thinking? Are you thinking into the future? That 3rd degree is the Gemini degree. What are you speaking? Where are you, envisioning your future? Because if you're running around the same old damn story, which you probably will be somewhat because Saturn rules history, but now how will you process it? Like, will you keep hanging on to the fears and the repression and the limitation? For instance, Katerina, you know what? She's like, the government office is downsizing again. This is the 3rd round. You could think, holy shit, it's the 3rd round. I could be out. Or you could think, man, I made it through 2 rounds. I'll probably make through the 3rd too, because I still want to be here. And my stronger intention is to stay here. Yes, exactly. You just mirrored what I had to say. While you were typing, I was talking small. So focus in on, I'll be here. I want this job. Because if you don't want the job, then Pluto will move you out. If your soul is tired of your job, Pluto will, boom, do exactly what your soul is telling, not what your personality and your ego is saying. Hello, Dolly. Welcome. All right, we're on to our Cancers, and I can't even get through the first 3 signs. Look at how slow I am today. Apparently, I've stored up a lot to talk about in the last 3 weeks that I've been gone. All right, Cancer, rising, moon, sun, and stelliums. And if you're a Cancer moon, you have the, you're ruler of the house, in the house, so incredibly important in the first house. Pay attention, pay attention, pay attention to those subtle things that your soul tells you that you try to ignore because you're taking care of everybody else's needs. And Mars was just pummeling you in your first house. Okay, our first is the Knight of Swords, then the High Priestess, the Four of Cups, and the Six of Swords. This is saying to me that, again, if you are a late degree, thank you, Small. If you're a late degree Cancer rising, you're going to feel Pluto's square because it's time. You've got to kind of, I'm in my muggle mind today. You get to go your own way a little bit. This Knight of Swords is very much Knight of Swords. He's upside down. He's known to be a bit of a lone wolf. You see him in the traditional Rider-Waite deck. He's charging through the card. But this guy, you get to be a little bit more independent. And I want to offer it this way because Gemini is your 12th house and Jupiter is naturally the ruler of the 12th house. So it's been tasking you to allow your mind to travel to places that are beyond this earth. Because here's the High Priestess asking you to, or enabling you on some level to follow the moon energy within you. Look at that big ass moon that you rule. Now, this tells me you're not paying attention to what God's trying to offer you. The Four of Cups is kind of interesting because we're emotionally invested in what we don't have, and God is trying to offer a gift. And until you can accept the gift, it's hard to move into smoother waters. This Six of Swords would really indicate an opportunity to, I think, marry the emotional body, which is the water, and then moving sort of away from those. If we think of the Six of Swords, it's very, to me, it's kind of this energy where I still feel the experience. There's still a sense of human sorrow and loss. And yet there's an opportunity through that loss to move into a place that says, I'm not going to expose myself or be, how do I want to say this? Because it's not about resisting something. It's about maybe understanding that some people are just the way they are, or some situations are just the way they are. And no matter how much you love them or you try to fix them or you try to change them, ain't gonna happen. So let it be. And Pluto's going to do something to that. And if you're early born, mid-born Cancer, maybe not so much. But if you're late born, definitely, or late rising, late planetary activity. If you have a late degree Mars, Pluto's going to square you, all sorts of potential. So look at your chart, and please look at it in Placidus these days for those of you that have been around a while, because the changing of the chart is so powerful. I have so much of my 5th house is Virgo, even though it starts in Leo. And you can see here, I love my work. It's my passion, to help other people balance themselves, feel their power. All of that's so important to me. So now we're moving on to our Leos, rising, moon, sun, and stelliums. And hopefully I'll get through this broadcast before tomorrow morning, because I apparently am moving very slowly. And that's just the way I am right now. All right, let's see what's happening with our Leos, our lions. The Queen of Wands straight up, the Eight of Wands inverted, the Ace of Wands inverted, and then the Four of Wands. Okay. Now this is interesting because in this particular deck, our Leos are represented with bulls behind them. This woman is taking charge. She's got passion and she's got the tenacity of the bull to continue on. Here, there's a lack of information. There's something that's hanging in the Ethernet that's just sort of floating. And I would say when it comes to the Eight of Wands, that's either an idea, a potential conclusion, meaning, oh, I came to a conclusion. I know what I want to do. Or it could be a conclusion, the ending of something. But it feels as if an inspired idea has not actually manifested itself just yet. or the passion that's represented by the Ace of Wands. The Ace of Wands is very much the beginning of fire. And what are we experiencing right now? The beginning of Neptune's spiritual entry into the house of fire and the house of the hero, the spiritual hero, because you will soon have reason to celebrate. Even if you don't think you do right now, you will have even if the information has not come through yet, everything about this is about passion. The Queen of Wands for Leo, the Eight of Wands, the Ace of Wands, and the Four of Wands. The other thing I want to say for Leo rising is that you have about as much patience as an Aries. So forget about it, okay? You're going to be impatient. You're going to be, it's never happening fast enough. And, this is about walking gingerly through the whole. I haven't seen Lucy in feels like forever. This is walking gingerly and trusting the herd behind you, All right, let's go on to our Virgos, rising moon, sun, and stelliums. Leo and Aries, yeah, the fiery, passion. Now. Give it to me now. I want it now. I don't want to wait. Oh, did you see that crow fly up on the... Okay, here we go. On to our Virgos. I'm going to try to start getting some traction. And, we want to keep this broadcast to an hour and a half at most, so it's not too cray-cray for everybody. Virgo, rising moon, sun, and stelliums, your 7th house or potentially 6th house. Chances are probably unlikely it's the 8th, 7th, 8th house, but it's possible. But in any case, yeah, that's super powerful to revisit the 7th house of, how do you build harmony, diplomacy, fairness for yourself? We're looking at the sign of the slave. We're looking at the sign of if I don't do it, it won't get done right. We're looking at the sign of the worrier, okay? Holy moly, not the warrior, the worrier. Oh, Mr. Bill. You guys remember that? Oh, Mr. Bill. God, I haven't thought of that in a long time. Joanne, welcome. I missed you guys too, but I'm under siege. I literally feel like I'm under siege. So I'm going to be here, but I'm going to need a lot of patience over the next little bit of time. Your Leo husband, your Virgo husband woke up on the wrong side of the bed. Put him back in. Roll him over. Push him out the other side. All right, here we go, Virgo. Let's see what Spirit has to say for you this week. The Queen of Cups is the queen of emotion. Then we have the Page of Wands inverted, the Hermit, which is your card in the Angel's Advice, and then finally the Wheel of Fortune. Okay, so part of what Spirit has shown me about the South Node traveling through Virgo is really the awarenesses of the habits that don't serve you, the processes that only think about the dark side, the obligated side, the practical, dependable, all those challenges. So now, just call me C. But Mr. Bill's from Saturday Night Live, I think, if I remember correctly. It was a skit. Yeah, and I'm a veteran. Let's face it. My face is closer to 70 than it is to 60. Okay, Queen of Cups for my Virgos is about touching the emotional side of your body, touching, and celebrating the things that make you feel emotionally joyful and playful. And right now you lack inspiration. You lack that kind of, the pages are always messengers. They're always like these youthful energies that are excited about things. And here there's a lack of excitement. And then I see this Virgonian Hermit, which is about, the Hermit in the Angel's Advice would be very much about meditating, about tapping into the complete opposite sign of your chart and to create that relationship with Spirit, to allow yourself that meditative dynamic of knowing, what do I want? What really brings me joy? Because right now, the Wheel of Fortune is kind of upside down for you. And it makes me feel as if you're burning. You could potentially be working super hard, or you could be so worried. If you're one of those people who, what was the, I know where I was going. I saw Gumby and I got lost for a second. if you have a 401k and you've been investing all your money and you're watching the freaking stock market right now, you could be having a freak out. Okay. You could be like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. Don't try to be aware of that, sending a certain energy into the universe and then shifting, because right now something is still in motion. I'm going to pull one more card. Yeah. The flow of money. So Virgo, I think right now you just get to understand not to look at things too closely. We're in a transition. Pluto rules money. Yeah, you all remember Mr. Brill. I love you. You guys are the greatest group of people, I swear, or the greatest group of souls inhabiting a human experience. Yes, don't fall for the scarcity right now. And Virgo, that could be super hard for you. And that's where the opposition and maybe even Saturn and Venus and Neptune are feeling super erosive monetarily. You could be concerned. A lot of people have experienced governmental job fears. And that's, I guess, when you have to ask yourself the deeper questions, because if you call forth a layoff, then your soul is looking for a new experience. So, okay, let's go on to our Libras, rising moon, sun, and stelliums. No, and retirement, I think, is kind of an interesting word, because it really sounds like, I can imagine when you worked the fields and, you had to grow your own food and plow with the oxen out there, whatever, you might want to think about sitting out and just staring. But, these days, I don't think anybody wants to just sit on a porch. I think they want the ease of money. And that's what retirement has offered us, is, the ease of some sort of money. I'm not looking at anything right now when it comes to money, especially when it comes to these people interrupting my work schedule. All right, Libra, rising moon, sun, and stelliums. That Pisces energy is in your 5th and 6th house. We're looking at, well, actually 6th and 7th house, sorry. So that's super important, because it is going to ask you, what are you enslaved to? And that 12th house Virgo energy is really bringing up, we're talking about the South Node in Virgo in your 12th house of soul's habits. Let's see what Spirit has to say. There's Temperance, lack of balance. It's upside down. 7 of Pentacles is upside down. Queen of Cups is upside down, and the Judgment card is upside down. Lot of reversed. I'm not surprised the cards are coming out reversed, because we're getting tighter and tighter into not only is the Saturn and Neptune conjunction, but that conjunction is sextile to Pluto. And Pluto is making a trine to Uranus, and Neptune and Saturn will be making a sextile. So we've got this focus on moving into the future. So for my Virgos, balance upside down. And I really want to offer that everything has its two sides. Where will you find the magic in between? This character is standing, with his hands in both sides of an experience. And the angel wings are really being offered more through the darker experience. We look at where the sun is, it sort of drowns out. We may not feel our connection as closely. So I think right now this is saying for my Libras that it's time for you to connect even more closely to your soul's truth, because here it is. This is that little money tree. Here's that, what am I going to do? And it's not up to you right now. Something is going on, because the joy of the Queen of Cups is very moony and very not moody, very lunar. And she's very intuitive, but your intuition is off, because there's the Judgment card upside down, which is very interesting to me. And this to me is that there is no judgment. Something is not, there's a lack of information, or there's a lack of, I don't want to say there's a lack of balance. I don't know if there's a lack of balance. Let me pull one more on that Judgment card, because I think also when I look at Temperance, I just have this kind of Jupiterian feeling of expansion. And I wonder if there isn't something going on. There's the 6 of Pentacles upright. Okay. Which means something will be bestowed upon you, and it will come in the earthly realm, and it could be potentially financial. For my Libras, you literally have the zodiac wheel completely reversed from its natural way of being. So you are being tasked on a soul level to see everything through the lens of harmony and balance, and how you can do that through the Aries independent energy. And as Neptune is sitting at 0 degrees, now this is where your natal chart is so important, because I'm a Libra sun, but almost my whole Libra energy is sixth house. And my seventh house is very scorpionic. So my sun is in the sixth house below the descendant, and my Mars is in the seventh house just above the descendant. This is important because this Mars is going to get its little butt rubbed up against by Pluto again. So I think that this is like, when I look at this, I feel like Libra, your balance is off, okay, which is so true for me. Everything you've been trying to create feels topsy-turvy. Emotionally, you might be feeling that things are not moving, and that you can't make a clear judgment. But if you surrender for now, something will come into fruition. Something will be bestowed upon you. All right, let's go on to our Scorpios, rising, moon, sun, and stelliums. Now, if you have planets at 2 degrees of Scorpio, you're on that Shapley attractor, that point where you're releasing false attachments to things. So let's say you have Mercury within 5 to 10 degrees of 1 degree or 2 degrees of Scorpio, or potentially Mars. If you have Mercury, you're releasing false attachments to little bits of information, worry, the lower sides of Mercury. If your Mars is within orb, then you're releasing false attachments to anger, resentment, reactionary energies. So things like that. Now, the Pluto transit, which is now starting to anchor in the sky to go backwards, to go retrograde, is going to trigger this stuff. And I think it's important, Scorpio, because we're looking at an opportunity to harness the immense power that you have. And if you've a strong Scorpio energy, you literally are tasked to decide if you're going to be a hero or a criminal. Because you could be a very upstanding, financially good person and manipulative beyond all measure. You can be very dominant, have a lot of power and control over people, and they don't even know you're doing it. That's the mastermind of the Scorpio. And sometimes you'll manipulate through money, or you'll manipulate through sex, or Scorpio energy will be manipulated by money and sex. It really depends on the other parts of your chart. I don't want to make Scorpio, because some Scorpios are completely stunted and their power is not there. Okay. Let's see what Spirit has to say for you, Scorpio rising. The Knight of Cups, it's your move, Scorpio. The Three of Wands is inverted. The Temperance card now straight up. And then the it's about looking to your future, Scorpio. And what do you really want? The Knight of Cups, they're always very passionate energies. And this one feels very passionate, emotional. I'm ready to make a move. I'm ready to knock the king down and win the game. But there's one little challenge here is seeing the future. Okay. Now, when I look at this card, I always notice that the guy has 2 cups here. It's like he's waiting. Is it light enough? Can you see? There we go. It's like he's waiting for a partner I can't get this can you see? And this was upside down. I feel like Spirit is saying, go back to your divine connection, trust a bigger picture, because we have this 2 of Wands. It's another energy of looking to the future. But here in this particular deck, there's a sun setting, and yet there's a bicycle and there's a staff. Okay. And the staff, well, there's 2 wands, but to me, the wand that she's holding onto is a deeper truth. It's like she has let go of one story and she's ready to move into a new one. So for my Scorpios, I think what's happening is that Pluto's your ruling planet. So is Mars. And as it goes into Aquarius, it's really tasking you to look deeper into the future, to transform and transcend any resentments or any psychological nooks and crannies that have disempowered you to somebody else's agenda, to recognize on some level your own power of co-creation, and in doing so, harnessing that energy. This is, and when we think about Neptune, the Neptune, Saturn, Venus trines the Scorpio energy. And so if you have any planets in late degrees of Scorpio, or you're a late degree Scorpio rising, then this is going to be opening up like your 5th house and giving you an opportunity to really look, how do I want to birth a bigger part of myself, and through that be of service to others? Because Aries is your 6th house. And that's the house where you get to really look at how you are, what you are enslaved to. And it's interesting to me because there are quincunxes that happen between Scorpio and Aries, and yet they're both co-ruled by Mars. The same thing happens with Taurus and Libra. So there's like, it's a dynamic where I'm going with the quincunx between the two houses is that you may not be able to see your power, because your power is not necessarily rooted in an earthly experience, but rather more in an emotional one. And manifestation happens through the emotional body, because the emotional body dictates our thoughts, and then our thoughts start to kick in the law of attraction. So Scorpio, even if you've had somebody do you wrong or screw you over, or, keep your eye on the bigger prize of what you want, because the Scorpios, I believe, in my tribe, are truly powerful leaders, not the unconscious Scorpios that take advantage of others. And I got to tell you, the last 2 people that I've had to deal with that this guy hired were Scorpionic in their worst way. What's wrong with the Mad Hatter? I don't think there's anything wrong with being fanciful and exciting, and recognizing the illusions that the human experience is. All right, here we go. On to our Saggies, rising moon, sun, and stelliums. I think you're very Gemini, but you're also very Cancerian. You're such a good mom, and you care for everyone in your family. And also look to your moon, the moon's so important. That I think that. All right, Sag, let's see where we're going. All right, our first our first tarot card is the 2 of Pentacles upside down. Then we have the Chariot upright, the Page of Wands upright, and then, the 6 of Wands. This is nice. Okay, so if there's been a lack of flow, if there's been a feeling like there's been stagnation of some kind, that you're not really moving, it looks as if we're going to start moving. There's the victory. This is the Cancerian energy, but it's also a polarization of 2 sides of yourself. Now, earlier I mentioned that your ruling planet Jupiter was in Gemini, and there's this like tasking of combining the expansion into the everyday world. There's also this idea that your ruling planet is in the house of cooperation, in the house of harmony and peace. And I think that might be a little bit of what was pulling you back and forth, is you may be having new ideas and inspirations about what bring you peace and harmony and a sense of cooperation, a sense of give and take in relationships. And whatever you have been, Spirit is offering you victory after what they call the wars. This character has been out, and now he's coming back to the homeland triumphant and is being celebrated. There's bounty. So if for some reason, because your ruling planet again is a money planet, Jupiter rules money, and this looks a little bit like the flow of money. Let me pull just one more, because I'd like to know a clarification card on what's upside down, and it's money. So again, try not to worry too much about the news and what you hear. There's a lot of inflammatory stuff going on. And I say that because there's an expansion that's in the stars that will then, or the restriction in the stars, Neptune, Venus, Saturn, but then that's going to rewrite something somehow for each of us. Cassandra, welcome to the room, Cassandra. What a beautiful name. Okay, let's move on to our Capricorns, rising, moon, sun, and stelliums. Cancer moon is so powerful again. And you know, this is the other thing about this is the difference between, I don't know why I look at it this way, because I have this mind that just is always going off. So I'm thinking about the little Pisces fish, and they swim in the water, and then the crab, it goes up on the beach and goes back in the water. But that damn scorpion, he doesn't get to be in any water. He lives in the desert, with his little stinger in the hot sun. And I think it's very interesting because if you're a Cancer moon, you're like the middle ground, right? You're learning how to traverse the tides and how to get up on the sand when you need to, and then how to get under the rocks when the waves are too cuckoo. So I think Queen Leo, and Leo being a very important phrase within your handle, that you're combining these two things. Because if you are Queen Leo, if you're a Leo sun, that's one thing. But if you're a Cancer, if you're a Leo rising with a Cancer moon, then your moon is in the 12th house. And that would be very significant. All right, I'm really going on to Capricorn now. I know I said I was, but this is one of those things I keep doing. I say one thing, and you should tell me when I tell the dog he's getting a treat, and like 20 minutes later, he's like, what the heck? Let's move along. I'm like, well, I just wanted to clean this and move that. All right, Capricorn, here we go. Cap rising. Oh, wow. Okay. That's not easy because the Cap rising is so practical. And then the moon on the other side of the chart, that's so you're near a full moon. All right. Look at this, Capricorn. Here we have this 2 money again. Here we go. But this time it's flowing. 9 of Wands is defense. 9 of Swords of worry. And then the Empress. All right, my dear Capricorns. I really want to offer this because your ruling planet is, could potentially be, giving you a little nonsense as it feels. How can I phrase this? When you're a Capricorn rising, you have a 4th house that's Aries. You could have a very strong imprint of your childhood, and at this point, I think Spirit is talking about money for you. Now, Pluto is moving into your 2nd house, or is in your 2nd house, and now retrograding. So here, I think there could be a focus on moving towards the flow of money. Rather than guarding yourself and worrying constantly about what you could potentially could happen, this is a time where the Empress is offering a gestation period. And this is Venus. And I feel, Queen Leo, I'm right in the same boat swimming. It's been really challenging and super annoying, especially since the muggles around me tend to, go to their lowest dynamic. And I continue to try to raise to my highest. But I want to offer this because my goats are really having a very big opportunity. And as Pluto retrogrades in your 2nd house, or potentially still your 1st house, you're being asked to see more flow, to know that the flow comes from your cooperation with Spirit and your willingness not to just bang the nails into the house, but understand that it is like a process of co-creation. That's the way I want to put it. Worry is a form of prayer that doesn't serve you. It puts your attention and intention in the very experience you don't want to have. So when you say, thank you, Spirit, I surrender my worry, now help anchor my faith. Because I'm in this human body and I'm designed to worry. I am pummeled with bullshit information that is designed to motivate me through fear. And I'm a Capricorn rising. I'm susceptible to that. No bueno. All right, let's move on to our Aquarius's rising, moon, sun, and stelliums. Well, I want to offer this. Oppositions are actually, There can be very complementary, because if Saturn opposes your Jupiter, there could be, and Dolly, I believe wholeheartedly that many of us incarnated at a time when we are going to experience our greatest successes, our greatest loves, our greatest satisfactions at a later age. That's Saturn. So Saturn may have opposed your expansion until your beliefs were anchored in to such a way that they could not be blown away, either through too much abundance too quickly or the lack thereof. So Saturn rewards over time. He wants to build things that are sustainable. And Jupiter will just be a glutton and eat everything at the table and then be like, oh, I'll worry about my next meal later. And then throw it all up. That's like a survivor move. Okay, on to our Aquarius, this rising moon, sun, and stelliums. And I also want to point out, Dolly, that Saturn is the co-ruler of Aquarius. So Saturn has a rebellious nature somewhere. Saturn has an ability to look to the future. Saturn has this Aquarian, concept of how can we make the world a better place? But it's not focused on, it's mostly focused on from its Capricorn energy. And now, even as Saturn goes through Pisces, it's asking for a rewrite. The tenacity to keep your thoughts, your words, and your deeds close to your soul's intention and truth. And this will manifest reward that is sustainable and long-lasting, not just in this lifetime, but in subsequent lifetimes. These aren't frivolous transits right now. These are soul-changing, soul-shifting transits. All right, Aquarius, here we go. The Lovers inverted, the Page of Swords inverted, the Seven of Wands inverted, and the Four of Wands inverted. Okay, so there you go. There's Pluto's influence. Choices, choices, choices. The Lovers card is always a Geminian energy. It's where we are making the choice of our beloved. And that beloved, hi, Mountain Girl, MK Mountain. This is interesting to me because with Pluto moving into the first house of self, there could very much feel as if there's some sort of deconstruction going on. And I say that because it literally could be a deconstruction of your choices, because the spirit is trying to offer new ideas about things, but they're not necessarily hitting forth, because there's somewhere where there's an emotional bridge that is not being met. Okay, let me back this little puppy up. Aquarius is like the energy that is a little bit like Libra, but at a higher octave of looking at things so broadly, and also like Jupiter, but so broadly that it can miss the individual. Okay, it's like the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few. This is actually kind of not right, because it's the few that make up the many. And so now, Aquarius, you're being asked to look at your choices. You're being asked to look at who you hang out with, who you interact with on the internet, what choices are you making? And are they inspiring you emotionally? Because right now, I would say no. Right now, I would say that there's an emotional bridge coming, and that the choices you're making may not be leading you towards the things that you want to celebrate, that feel, I don't know, I feel like Pluto might be just, because Pluto is opposing your seventh house. And if there's something in that seventh house that is not really bringing fun and love and harmony and that Leo good stuff, I'm gonna pull one more. Yeah, you're there's something that's transforming for you. And I think that you get to look at the deeper, whatever you're holding on to. Let me put it this way, Aquarius, if you're holding on to something, you get to ask yourself why you're holding on to it, and if it's really serving your future, or if it's serving some sort of weird anxiety that you can have about, feeling alone, feeling untethered in some way. And I also have been shown by Spirit a lot lately that when Aquarius gets that anxiety, they are absolutely being asked to look at if their choices they're making are really authentic to their truth and to what makes them feel special and feel that sense of genius. Because usually the anxiety is alerting you that you're not making that decision. You're walking some path that isn't authentic. You're crossing a bridge that really isn't yours to cross. All right, let's go on to Pisces. Whew, Pisces. Talk about some serious transits right now, on your sun, on your ascendant, on your moon. That's so powerful. All right, here we go. Now your ruling planet is sitting at 0 degrees of Aries. This is its first feel in the warmth of the individuality, of the density of the human experience. It's important to remember that, because when Neptune is in Pisces, it's very ethereal. It's very translucent and very whatever I'm doing. And now it's gone into this me in the physical, me in the hero energy, me in the warrior energy. All right. We have the 9 of Swords upside down. We have the Ace of Swords upside down, Pisces. We have the 7 of Wands straight up, and we have the Page of Wands. A lot of similarities are coming up. This is the card of worry, okay? But it's upside down. So there is potentially, a little bit of uneasiness. I would not be surprised with the transits as they've been since March. We had all the retrogrades. There's been a thwarting of new ideas, because I think somehow if my Pisces are too much in their head, which is what the 9 of Swords could indicate, even if it's upside down, then this is time to get into your emotional body and bridge between what the thing about Pisces is it's super compassionate and very loving, and it can feel, in order to feel like valued by another person, it can feel as if it has to feed that other person constantly to feed them with their dreams and their hopes and to create a beautiful picture of what can be. And I think that it's important for Pisces to start to do that for themselves. That Virgo energy in your 7th house, potentially your 6th house, or your, depending on how your chart is laid out, is really sort of tasking you again to look at the processes of how you feel things, how you intuit things. Because I think sometimes Pisces intuits through its chameleon energy. Like it's dismissing its own intuitions and instead absorbing the desires of another and superimposing that those are their desires. Because the Page of Wands is calling you to capture and to start to walk your desires, your inspirations. It's an absolute opposite of the worry card. So this is tasking Pisces with going into this. I'm in Pisces, right? Geez, all of a sudden I freaked out. It's very much tasking you into that place of the divinity within. All right. Let's go on to our last sign, which is Aries. I did say Pisces, right? Like I'm not crazy. Somewhere. Aquarius? Was I Aquarius? Didn't I say Pisces? Didn't I do Pisces? Small, where am I? Didn't I just do Pisces? My brain is so, yeah, okay. Thank you, Stephen. My brain is so... Sorry. Well, I'm also breathing all this crap, whatever that is. Lucky was sneezing and coughing for 4 or 5 days before he passed whatever he was sucking up off the carpet. All right, Aries, here we go. It's us, guys. Dolly, welcome to our room. I thought you'd been here before, but if you haven't, well, I'm sorry I did not welcome you more graciously, but I hope that you will join us. We're a great group of people, and we're here every Sunday mostly. But Teri's going through a little, oh, you have. I thought you'd been here before. All right. It's actually foggy behind me. It's very damp out here in my neck of the woods. It rained yesterday, and the leak that they've been working on all week leaked. My brain doesn't even want to try to work. That's the honest truth. My brain is like, I'm too tired and exhausted from everything. Okay, Aries, let's see where we're going. Pray for us. All right, we've got the Seven of Wands upside down, the Two of Wands upside down, the World upside down, and the Ace of Cups inverted. All right. Sometimes it's not easy for Aries to cross an emotional bridge because Aries doesn't like soft emotions. Aries is not, the warmest, fuzziest little sword in the sword room. But here, what I think is that there is a feeling of, when I look at the Seven of Wands in this particular deck, I'm going to show it to you straight up. The river that this woman is crossing is not treacherous at all. It's very calm. What's treacherous are the wands. Will this character fall in? Now we have it upside down, right? So I feel as if there is, again, this feeling of Saturn and of Aries. This is an Aries energy. This Two of Wands is like, are you really looking at what you want on a deeper level? What is it that you want? This is a card of looking at the future, of something being built, but then, and in some ways, something feels a little bit as if the dawn is, or the sun is setting on it, but there's something new happening. Now, this is where it gets challenging because we have Saturn in the form of the World in reward. Okay, but it's upside down. And that's because Aries has a longer journey to go with the Saturnian dynamic. While Saturn is just entering Aries, and it will do that for the next 2 years, there's going to be a theme of becoming a very strategic and well thought out warrior. And that warrior comes from a hero energy as well. It's not just, I'm going to fight with you. I'm going to be a knight. Again, I call us the Knights of the Round Table because this ends with the Ace of Cups. And I think that this is coming, that Aries rising is experiencing the difficult journey of bridging their reactionary emotions with what they want to build for their future in the way of sustainable leadership, sustainable. When I think of Capricorn and not Saturn, Capricorn, I'm a home builder. I build a strong structure to live in so that the big bad wolf can't blow it down. And I think what's happening here is there's a rebirth of the self through the spiritual dynamic of Neptune, and that this is like a soul's, when you have strong Aries energy, anything that's around the 0 degree of Aries, and like right now 3-5 degrees, you're going to start to feel this very strongly. And because it's in those early degrees, your soul has agreed to experience a newness of it, the power of the contrast between the lightness of spirit and the density of the human experience. And as you come through your heart, you start to recognize that hero within you, that Mariah Carey song, there's a hero inside of you. And most people don't necessarily see that when they initially see you because you might just be too straightforward for some folks. And considering that Mars has been frustrated in Cancer for quite some time and just getting into Leo, you might have felt that. So, okay, guys, we got it. We did it in about an hour and a half. Again, I appreciate you all. I'm going to apologize right now for my inconsistency because I can feel myself fighting, trying to keep up a schedule that right now my transits are making very difficult. It's like I have a huge headwind and I'm trying so hard to push through the headwind and it's exhausting me. So I'll do my best and give myself also a bit of a a little bit of a break. So I'll be back on Sunday. The monthlies will get out. I'm going to try to get this monthlies done this next week for May. There's no new moon video for the Taurus new moon. That just didn't happen. So pray for me, pray for me, pray for me. Because when my home is restored, then my peace is restored and my intuitive leadership is restored. All right, everybody. I love you. And I will see you next Sunday. Peace out.